My name is Jesica Glover, and I am the podcast host of the new Phillips Fundamental Learning Center's podcast called My Child Can't Read, a Heartland Crisis. Our podcast is about the literacy history of our nation, but it zeroes in on the heartland being Kansas. We discuss our low scores, as well as the way to get to improving those scores, the hope. So the heart behind our podcast is really to connect with our audience, which is you, parents and teachers who have a heart to help kids move forward. And as a parent and a former educator, I found that my own child was showing signs of not being able to grab a hold of the sounds of letters in kindergarten and wondered what was happening. I began to sub at her school district and learned very quickly that it wasn't just her. There was probably a third to a half of the kids that were behind in reading. And as I moved forward, I decided the regular routes that we see advertised on all sorts of media, like Hooked on Phonics, Get Yourself a Tutor, did all the things and found that nothing helped until I ran into a friend who told me about the Phillips Fundamental Learning Center. And unfortunately, the cost of the assessment held me back because I didn't understand what it was testing. But once we did get her tested, that's when all the answers started to flood in. And we ended up sending her to the Rolfe Literacy Academy, where literally our family's life has changed. We have our daughter back. We couldn't be more thankful for what Rolfe Literacy Academy has brought to our daughter. We thought we had lost her and that she would not return to that fun, spunky kid anymore. And the more I interview other parents, the more I realize that we're not alone. There are so many families in our community who are struggling to find the answers to what their kids need to learn. And our podcast is really honing in on the reality that PFLC is a hidden gem in our community. It provides training for teachers, assessment for parents and students to help us find the answers we need in order to use resources that instill the science of reading in our reading materials. Because as a former educated, not given the science of reading, I know that whole language was not a tool I was able to use in working with struggling readers. But I know that teachers who have been trained using materials that utilize the science of reading are finding ways to truly help our kids in Kansas. This podcast is for every parent who's felt gaslit and every teacher who's been left without the tools to help. Because reading isn't magic, it's a code. And all kids can learn to crack it if we teach them how. We launch our new podcast on Tuesday, August 12th, and you can find more information and the link to listen at funlearn.org/podcast.